right now, Caleb Plant is off the radar. Caleb Plant don't want to fight, man. You know, here's the thing, right? So when they first was talking about that fight with Maul and Caleb Plant, they said, okay, they called me and asked me that I think that would be the right fight for Maul. I said, yes, absolutely. I said, they got history together, so let's do it. So they said, okay. So they called Caleb Plant, called me back. He said he didn't have a trainer. He said he left Breadman and he was looking for another trainer. Okay, no problem. I said, well, get back to me and let me know. So weeks go by. I called the Coopers myself.
Okay.
Said, hey, what's up with the Caleb Plant fight? He still say he don't have a trainer. So it's been like this for the last 6 months.
Wow.
He don't have a trainer. So I don't know if he have a trainer or not. So I said, hey, so when they called me about possibly doing the fight in Australia, I said, who could it be Caleb Plant? No, it can't be Caleb Plant. We thought it might be better for having an opponent from there. I said, that's fine with me, no problem. So right now, Caleb Plant is off the radar.
Damn.
Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, I thought maybe that would be something that we would see here anytime recently.
So Ronnie Shields did some interviews. He gave an update on Errol and them, and Tim Tszyu, and he's sparring Brian Norman. But one of the clips my boy from Philly sent was about Charlo and Plant, and that the thing is, it seems that Jermall Charlo is avoiding the Caleb Plant fight. Ronnie Shields, who to me has been a stand-up individual, stand-up man, said that's not the case. Is that they tried to make that fight, but they keep getting told that Plant ain't ready because Plant doesn't have a trainer. So him and Edwards broke up. Now I'll probably find a clip of Steven Breadman talking about why him and Caleb Plant ain't really feng shuiing like that. You know what I'm saying? And from my memory, he just, because he dropped it a few months ago, it just sounded like Caleb Plant, wasn't listening. He wanted to do his own thing. Now, also, I think people who don't know, Caleb Plant's father also he ain't as vocal, but he's also a part of his team. He's also a part of his team. So maybe the father had too much influence, and he seemed like he really wasn't getting, to Caleb Plant. So he said he removed himself from the situation. Now, we've heard stories where a lot of these fighters in hindsight, or you hear the coaches say that the fighter, felt like they got so big, they got too big for the program. We remember, Jermall, brother Jermall, turning around and saying that, Derek James not allowing certain things in the gym, his dogs or some friends in the gym, kind of like, well, I'm paying you listening to me, kind of that alpha mentality that they have, which is understandable, right? So I get that. When the fighters start getting bigger than the feel like he bigger than the program. Virgil Hunter talked about not in the interview he did with Andre Ward, not letting people in the locker room, not letting his wife come to camp. He said eventually, you matured enough to be able to have those things, so I didn't say nothing. But in the beginning, to get you focused, to get you on the right line, the right track, or the right line, I didn't allow that to happen. But, when Virgil also talked about in part 2 of that interview, I haven't finished it yet, he kind of talked about, or was it into part 1? It was one of them. Even in part 1 or part 2, he talked about, sorry, y'all. He talked about, so I'm trying to navigate through traffic. He talked about switching, fighters switching to coaches in the middle of their career. He talked about that and talking about, well, you know, don't expect you coming in here being like Andre Ward. Don't expect that to happen because, you know, some of the things I did with Andre Ward in the beginning, he didn't have guys allowed to his camp. He didn't have, you know, I didn't allow him to have his wife. Or I'm just paraphrasing some things he was saying, you know, so I can't really train you like Andre Ward because this is how he did it in the beginning. And I had to train him this way. So there's a lot of just different little various differences that can come between a fighter, you know, and a fighter and a coach, regardless, you know. And I just think a lot of people be forgetting that, you know, it's a working relationship. You got an elder whose trainer's usually the elder telling the other fighter what to do, and then the other fighter getting all these accolades and they winning. With success comes great responsibility. So they may be wanting to train at 9 in the morning. He's showing up at 1 o'clock. Man, if you don't need that shit, you ain't gonna put up with that shit. Cause he got kids, he got other fighters, he got shit to deal with. You know what I mean? So these fighters probably picking their own windows, not being punctual, want to train when they want to train. But in the beginning, it don't ever start like that. So a lot of times the coach see the downfall. The coach see the downfall. He see it. When you get that success, he tell you everything you need to know. He'll tell you everything you need to know. That's a fact. You know, some of these guys can stay focused, stay disciplined, and that's one thing you commend Floyd Mayweather about. Regardless of what he had going on outside the ring, whether it was his children, whether it's nightlife or some of the stuff he was affiliated with, business. You didn't catch that nigga slipping. You know, and that's accredited to his father instilling discipline and training into him. But to the thing, you know, the illusion is that Jermall Charlo don't want it. And now, he said they tried to get that fight in Australia. They tried to get that fight in Australia. And they kept asking, and they say Plant didn't have a coach yet. He didn't have a coach. So, maybe it's hard for him to find a coach. Maybe, it seemed like it was a minute for Earl to find a coach. You know, do nobody want to touch Caleb Plant? Maybe because how he act, or maybe trying to find the right fit, or, you know, you got to think about it. You know, do you want to go train in Philly? Do you want to stay in Philly? Do you want to train in Vegas? Do you even want to continue to fight? It's a great question. That's a fantastic question. You know, so maybe he don't even want to stay. He don't want to stay and fight. But it just seemed like something that Jermall Charlo got to get back after a man slap you like that. It got a good backstory, even though it died off a little bit. But I think people still will want to see it. I think the fans still will want to see it. Real talk. So now he said Jermall Charlo is now fighting an Australian opponent. He's going to fight one of the Australian guys. So I can dig it. So he wanted to get Plant in Australia. It was like, man, he ain't got no coach. And Plant can never fight Jermall Charlo in that slap. And then Jermall Charlo apologizing to him, and he ain't gotta never fight him, and he's still gonna look good in the situation. He slapped the heebie-jeebies out of that nigga. Pow! Don't you put your hands on me, boy! Nigga smacked him so hard his hat spin. Oh, that nigga was an extra member of the Spinners. That motherfucker was like, damn. Don't you ever put your hands on me like that, boy. Yes, sir, master. I saw it. I know I ain't supposed to hit the master. I just wanted to see what type of beard oil you use, master. He slapped that motherfucker until he started talking like Chicken George. That nigga Regency, hey, water, you gotta get that bat water. Nigga, that was a slap heard around the world. That was at the Spencer Crawford fight week. Then your wife got her ass whooped. Your ex-wife, man, Jermall Charlo, Latino wife, man, whooped that. Get him. It was a hell of a fight weekend, boy. Man. It was a bad day for Texas. Bad weekend for Texas. But hey, we down here in Texas. We ain't seen Michael Clark Duncan, Michael Coffey. We ain't seen that nigga in years. Nigga, I done ran that nigga off the internet. I done made that nigga 7-8 start back making real boxing content. You know, that nigga then got back to that nigga then took that Ozempic up his ass, and that nigga then started talking real, but he done turned back into the real 7-8. The other nigga was a clone. That was 87. That wasn't 7-8. The other nigga was a clone. You know, Michael Clark Duncan, yeah, mine, down here in Texas, mine. Yeah, man, that nigga Earl lost. That nigga said, voila, man, I forgot to do my taxes. That nigga disappeared, voila. The Magic Man, that nigga was gone, black ass nigga. Yeah, mine, when I see CJ, mine, I tell you, mine, I'm gonna go the other way, mine, because, you know, I can't fight, mine, but I can grab you. Yeah, nigga, I know. But hey, man, thumbs up the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, find me on X, Facebook, Kick, Twitch, Instagram, Spotify, Anchor. Down here in Texas, mine. Hit the subscribe button, mine.